Oh, lovely. Well, welcome to another Friday Fun, looking at the UDO Super Gemini. Those of you who perhaps saw, we got visited by Cuckoo, or True Cuckoo. He came just before Bristronica, and we had two of these back to back. We had a Super Gemini and a Super 8. I mentioned then that I'm going to be doing a jam with the Super Gemini and hopefully getting on to reviewing the Super 8. So this is a sponsored video. No chore though, because as you can hear, it's a lovely sounding instrument. Not only that, but we've also got the Erica Synths NightVerb. See Matt's full review of that. It's a beautiful desktop thing. I was using a freeze there, but I've literally just switched it on. It's the first preset and I've just been messing around with the space. Very little. It's a lovely sounding thing. But I've also got Loop Pop's +3 with pedal, which is from Endorphins. This is really handy because it's got a sustain output and an expression output on a fader. I'm using the sustain because there's two sustain inputs on this guy, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Perhaps those of you who have been living under a rock, UDO Super Gemini is the flagship synth from their range. It's 20 voices. It actually has binaural technology. Now, I can maybe able to demonstrate this. It should show up. If I take the reverb, I'll just go to bypass and bring this up and take that off. You can hear when I hit the binaural, we get a sort of stereo filter and stereo voice. There's a sort of slight difference between the two voices. The voices essentially become halved. So instead of 10 voices on the upper layer, which I've got on the split here, I get 5 voices, but they're binaural, and that gives us that stereo vibe. 20 voices total, so I can have 5 binaural on each, or I can have 10 non-binaural on each, or 5 on one and 10 on other. So plenty to play with. Ribbon controller. The sustain pedal is really interesting because it's a stereo one, so I can have a sustain for each layer. As you can see, this synth is basically, it's the large S. You know, each of the panels represents one of the splits. We don't have to kind of edit each one individually. We've got, you know, we don't have to flip modes. We've got a dedicated control for each of those voices. It's a lovely way of working and really just sort of encourages you to play on it. And as you could hear there, lots of really nice sounding. These are FPGA, I believe, based oscillators. They're called Super DDS and DDS modulators. They've got analog filters and analog VCA. Pair of outputs for each side. So I was just sort of playing with some basics. The other thing that was kind of cool, you may have heard, I've got a delay going on here. They've both got a freeze. So in this instance, I'm switching the +3 into latch mode, which means when I hold, I'm coming out of sustain. Whereas if I did it this way, that would be, so I could just flip the polarity there. It's kind of handy, really useful to have a desktop unit for this. Maybe I'll look at that a little bit later, but it means that I've got stereo input, so I've got 2 sustains. So I'm using this one for the freeze, then I've got another foot pedal for, let me see. This is on the other half, so I can freeze that delay as well. And it just gives me all this sort of performance potential. But it just sounds really nice. I'm using the drive in here, switchable drive. I've got a hold. In this instance, I initially had 2 arpeggiators. They're kind of triplets against each other, quarter triplets, and this is a quarter note. So this is tripping over that one, which is really nice. I've got some aftertouch. Take that arpeggiator off. So this has got poly aftertouch, this keypad. bringing in the cross mod on this DDS here, which is just using noise actually on the oscillator too. This guy in now. This has just got the delays on. Actually, what I might do is I might bring this down and just create a beautiful bed on that. Freeze out. Freeze that delay there. Touch of cross mod. A bit of detune. Audio rate modulation of the detune. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little taster. Lovely combination, but why wouldn't it be? I mean, this guy is, like I say, the flagship of the UDO range and just sounds really delightful. I guess if you're a patron, or perhaps not, you can leave comments here because I will be looking at the Super 8. I have reviewed the Super 6 elsewhere, and there are great similarities between those. Leave comments in below if you want to ask any questions about the synth, and we'll endeavour to get to them in the full review, well, of the Super 8, which is essentially this synthesizer, but what it does have, it doesn't have the dual controls. It has 16 voices, so 8 per side, but only one control panel. Thanks for watching.